We have breaking news in this Hungarian GP weekend. Haas has announced they will be departing from the sport at the season's end, as it's Penske and a collaboration with Porsche who have bought the assets to the team to take over going into 2023 Season 2. An American team leaves, but Penske, an American brand, comes back in, iconic in IndyCar and NASCAR as well, with championships, many championships, wins in both of those series. That is right. Hello everybody, Penske is back, and you can hear the news there with Porsche as well taking over. I'm a Haas driver, by the way. What does that mean for the future of myself here in Formula 1 22 driver career mode? Well, the only thing I can really tell you is to stay tuned. I hope you're all having a great day. The news couldn't wait until after the summer break. They had to break it now. So Haas, it's the final season for Haas. Do we stay with the transition into Porsche, Penske, or do we look elsewhere? Look at this. The point standings that you can see continue. It gets narrower and narrower after each episode as Lewis Hamilton continues to put some pressure on Max Verstappen. We'll see what he's able to do here today in Hungary. Now, this big break that we're about to get here in the summer break is a big opportunity for many teams, including Haas here, but as well up towards the top for some teams to be able to get back out in front, because there's going to be so many opportunities to get some upgrades. So I'm curious to see if Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, which one's going to really be the top team when we come out of the summer break headed into Belgium for Spa. So nonetheless, Hungary, one of my favorite tracks to drive, certainly in the bottom, I would say 5 of favorite races to watch on a yearly basis, but top 5 of tracks to drive. So really enjoy driving this circuit, getting around it. It's a lot of fun, technical, not a lot of passing opportunities, obviously, and that's kind of why, like I said, it's a bottom 5 in terms of actually watching a race here for me. But we were having a decent time here in the race strategy programs and whatnot. We were looking pretty competitive here. You can see the practice times on the board. Lando Norris looking pretty quick right now in the McLaren. McLaren is getting sneaky. They are closing in on the top 3 in the R&D, so I would definitely keep an eye on them here. We were P17 though in free practice 1, jumping straight into qualifying here now with the uncertain future in just our rookie season in Formula 1. Let me know down below what you guys would like to see. Should we stay with Porsche and Penske next season as they take over this team, or should we look elsewhere? I mean, I think if we want to get to a better team, we need to have a really strong section of calendar after the summer break if we really want to be able to get into a top 4, top 3 team. We have only improved though, so let's hope it continues to happen here. You can see though, P4, P5 at the end of the first lap. However, we come through to our second lap here and we're only P14. It's going to be very interesting to see how this one's going to shape out now, as I was lacking a bit more pace than I thought here. You can see about 3/10 we had found in the improvement here towards the end of this lap in Q1, the last lap that we're going to be able to put on the board. Unfortunately, I gave up a little bit of time right there. Now, only 2/10 better, 2.5/10, then it goes down to 2 again, and then back up to 2.5, crossing the line. We're down to P17. It's not going to be enough. We're only P16 in Q1, and we missed Q2. Very surprised by that one. I thought this was a car that was going to really be good for myself around this circuit. Our teammate Schumacher goes P12, so it might actually be a good car. I think it might be a talent issue. I'm struggling with the car this weekend apparently, as we're going to start P16 from the grid. What has happened there? Zhou Guan Yu as well misses Q2. Not good. Let's head to the grid.
Welcome to Budapest once again for another round of Formula 1 action. Historically, a good race for first-time victories, with Button, Hill, Alonso and Heikki Kovalainen all reaching the top step of the podium for the very first time right here. Located 12 miles northeast of the Hungarian capital Budapest, the 14 corners of the Hungaro Ring are steeped in history and prestige. Overtaking's always been difficult on this technical 2.7-mile track, but the last few years in particular have turned up some exceptional races. So let's hope we're in for another one here today. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. George Russell will begin today's event in pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Ricciardo, Leclerc, Carlos Sainz and Verstappen, Fernando Alonso, Ocon, Perez and Valtteri Bottas, Gasly, Mick Schumacher, Yuki Tsunoda and Vettel, Golden Boy, Joe, Alex Albon and Lance Stroll, Latifi, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. And Lando Norris starts from the back of the grid. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. Natalie Pinkham joins me once again in the commentary box. It's fantastic to have you with us today. I'm curious though, how do you think the drivers stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn one, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It'll keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Well, we have some work to do. We do gain one position due to the grid penalty there. So P15 from the grid, no rain expected, taking fuel out of the car. Decided to change things up today with the strategy. So instead of mediums to hards, they decided to do hards till about lap 22, lap 23 area. And then we're going to put on the medium compound tire. Let's get ready now to go to the grid for the formation lap here and talk to the team.
The formation lap gets underway then, and it's going to be interesting today to see how the dry conditions could affect the lifespan of the tyres. So as all the cars take their positions on the grid, the teams will be hoping their strategies pay off for them in today's race. The question I'm asking is which teams have got it right, which ones have got it horribly wrong.
Alright everybody, thank you for the hard work. I don't know where the pace was in qualifying, but hopefully we can find it here today. It's been a bit of a tough weekend so far, but let's make it happen. There you hear myself too, the team. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where the pace was in qualifying, but the question now is, do we know where the pace is in the Grand Prix, or are we going to struggle here as well? We haven't had a lot of weekends where we've just downright struggled on pace, but I mean, clearly we had an issue there in Q1, so I'm a little bit concerned in that sense, and now we are on the hard compound tires, so we know we're going to be slower than some drivers around us no matter what, but nonetheless, we're ready to go. Lights out. It's Mercedes lockout front row, George Russell, Lewis Hamilton on the front row. We are underway. Daniel Ricciardo up there in P3 is Seaman and Norris down here at the back of the grid with that grid penalty, and you can see it's a great start for Russell. Leads the way in turn one. Hamilton, maybe a little bit of contact there with the Australian of Ricciardo, but they exit turn one, and you can see the two Ferraris of Sainz and Leclerc are going to be wheel to wheel here as well now, and just behind them they got the Red Bull of Max Verstappen. Not a great start for Verstappen or his teammate of Perez here today. They're still wheel to wheel, and it's going to be Sainz who stays out in front right now of Charles Leclerc. And you can see Verstappen is ready to put the attack on Leclerc now, as you can see everybody getting through. You see the two Alpines as well in between the Red Bulls right now. That's Alonso trailing him. Just behind is his teammate of Esteban Ocon. There's our teammate of Schumacher with a good start to this Grand Prix as well here as we head down into the chicane. We're actually getting run wide. You see a winglet flying. That's Norris's winglet. We got ran wide in the chicane because Lando Norris sent it up my inside, and you're going to see it right here. He sent it up the inside, locks up, and yeah, thankfully we don't get any wing damage, but there was damage done, and that was track position. So you can see George Russell with already a commanding lead at the conclusion of this opening lap now. Verstappen up the inside of Leclerc. You see him on the soft compound tire. Very bold strategy for the Red Bull driver. We'll see how it works out in the long run, but he does gain the position. It's not over yet though. Leclerc, he's going to fight back. These two love just going wheel to wheel, scrapping it out with each other. I've certainly noticed that in real life now as you continue to see them wheel to wheel. Leclerc holds on over Verstappen for now as we come through to lap 2, and you can see myself settling in here in P19 after that contact with Lando Norris, running myself off the circuit. So we've got some more work to do than we already did, and that was not something we needed to have happen to us when we are on a slower tire strategy to start off the Grand Prix. So there was, quite obviously concerns there, and you can see in the opening few laps, I was gaining nothing on Nicholas Latifi, fellow Canadian. He's up there running away nearly a whole second between himself and I. Now, fortunately, in a couple more laps, it would start to kind of reverse a little bit, and I was starting to eat into that gap that Latifi had built over the first few laps of this Grand Prix. So I wasn't too concerned at this point, but I was concerned about the longevity of this Grand Prix. A terrible start on the strategy that we're on means nothing good. Here we are, lap 8, sending one up the inside of Latifi down into turn 1, and we're going to be able to take that position with ease, get that rear wing open again, and try to build up this gap to make sure he can't, of course, fight us back here into the left-hander. Unfortunately, things work out pretty well. Norris 17 seconds behind currently. It'll be interesting to see how his race is going to play out now, as he is still going to have to come into the pits, but you can see lap 9 already. Max Verstappen in on the soft compound tire, puts on a set of mediums. He's on a completely different strategy from quite literally everybody here. Perez right now struggling, still in P8. He hasn't made a single pass all Grand Prix long. Yellow flags, lap 11. It's Zhou Guanyu is right there in front of us. You see right there the smoke pouring out of the back of his car. He's going to be out of the Grand Prix. No safety car needed for that one, so we do keep it green flag racing, but very unfortunate for a Rookie of the Year contender against myself. Max Verstappen had already, like we said, pitted. He had come out past me, no problem. Makes the move into P15, and he is continuing to claw his way through the field as we continue to watch his championship lead dwindle after what was a dominant first 6 Grand Prix of the season for Red Bull, winning literally everything up until Monaco when Lewis Hamilton took over, and now it's been Mercedes kind of running the show. But it's going to be so interesting to see how they both do against each other. Red Bull, Mercedes, Verstappen, Hamilton, Perez, Russell, how they're going to do after the summer break. I'm so excited to actually see. But we were slowly reeling in Alex Albon in front of us, but the pit stops were about to kick off for everybody in front of us. George Russell, he is staying it a little bit longer as you see his teammate of Lewis Hamilton come into the pit lane, bringing Ricardo. Hamilton actually has to wait a few extra moments there, but he gets out behind Alonso, but you can see everybody just flooding into this pit lane, and it wasn't long until Russell would come in a lap later, put on the hard compound tire as well. Currently under zero pressure is George Russell. He would exit out in front and have still a commanding lead. I was kind of in the way, trying to stay out of the way for these guys that had just pitted for a fresh set of hard compound tires. You see Perez going around Esteban Ocon. Well, no offense, but I'm not going to make it easy on Esteban Ocon ever, so I decided to fight him pretty hard here, but he would be able to get a pass completed on me down into turn 1 on lap 20. Now, another issue that was developing for myself here was we were running low on fuel. Now, I started with about half a lap of fuel. Usually that's plenty, but that was not the case here in Hungary because I was running pretty low. Yellow flags. It's our teammate Mick Schumacher behind us on a fresh set of hards, who's gone around, thank goodness, because he was already within 4 seconds of me. Here's a replay of into the chicane. He just loops it around all on his lonesome. Big mishap right there, big mistake from Schumacher, and I was now hustling into the pit lane at the end of lap 22, coming in for some fresh rubber here and hoping that we could have a flawless pit stop. We've only had one pit error this season. That was all the way back in race 2 of the season in Jeddah, so not really expecting any issues here. And sure enough, we come in and get those hard compound tires off, put the mediums on, and it was a flawless pit stop from the pit crew, so no issues there. And we get back headed out here after 2.3 seconds in the box, and you can see that Schumacher is going to be in front of us still, but well, the gap is like 20 seconds different because we are right on him now. So we had to wait for the tires to warm up, but they would warm up pretty quick. We come through to lap 25 down into turn 1. We are all over the back of him. He's losing a little bit of grip there. DRS wide open and overtake mode on, and here we go down towards the left-hander. We're going to send it up the inside of Schumacher, wheel to wheel. We've had a couple of scraps this season and they've gotten a little bit interesting, and you can see he's not going to give it up, and neither am I. Hold on to the right side of Mick Schumacher here as we head into a corner. You do not go side by side through, but we make it work. Oh my goodness, Schumacher and myself both very respectable right there of each other, and it worked out. So up into P15, P16 for Schumacher. Not the day we're looking for here at Haas, so what's the point of making it too of an aggressive fight here? As you can see, though, 10 laps to go, and Russell is 7 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Leclerc, Carlos Sainz fourth. Carlos Sainz has had an unbelievably consistent season. He's only had 2 or 3 races where he was not out or not in the top 4. One of those was a DNF, and then 2 of them, one of them was Bahrain. I forget the other one was just a really bad day for him. He has hands down been the most consistent driver on the grid so far this season here. As you can see, everybody out's climbing or clawing their way around this circuit, trying to gain some track position. Tsunoda all over the back of Schumacher right now, and then Latifi running at the bottom of the grid. But I was able to actually get the gap down to 6 seconds to Albon, but then I realized, look at the fuel, 0.0102. It was flirting with that area the whole time, so I basically had to stop pushing. Unfortunately, I had the pace for sure. I could have gone and gotten up to Albon, I'm confident, but we would have ran ourselves into the negative, on feel, and with this game, you can't go in and turn the feel down to lean or put it up to rich. You can't do anything. You have no control over that feel output anymore. So that was unfortunate, and I had to back it down and just keep the gap the same. The gap didn't really change. It's hovered about the 5 to 5.5, 6 second range, right around there for the remainder of this Grand Prix, and all I can do is just basically defend over Yuki Tsunoda, who I would allow to run me down. Just as long as we keep him behind us, then it's not really a big deal, but really just frustrating that this is happening here because we had a good car. You can see yellow flags in front of us in turn 1. It's Fernando Alonso. He looped it around. I didn't bother showing it. It was just a simple spin, and he ended up exiting behind his teammate of Ocon. Final lap, it was George Russell who would come through to win the Grand Prix here and send Formula 1 off to the summer break. Not much we could do. We are coming through the final few corners now. We cut the gap down to 3.7 seconds. Albon could have easily got there, but we had to play it safe on field. We do come across the line here, out of the final turn anyways, with enough feel to hold on for a disappointing P15. Just a rough day for us here, unfortunately, in Hungary. Would really just rather forget about it, to be honest with you, and move into the summer break and focus in on the final part of the season, kicking off with Belgium Driver of the Day, rightfully so, Lando Norris, after starting at the back of the grid. Let's head to the podium.
And it's a performance to be proud of from our Hungarian Grand Prix winners. So, Natalie, what do you think helped them deliver this result?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we could talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those that we've witnessed today.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners.
There you see the podium celebrations. Mercedes 1-2 again. Russell, Hamilton, Leclerc was able to beat his teammate of Carlos Sainz, get himself there up on the podium. But, you know, fantastic day for Mercedes again as they continue to close the gap in the constructors. No Red Bull presence on the podium. It's interesting to see Red Bull struggling here, but, you know, they have the summer break. They have opportunities to make some upgrades and bring the fight back to Mercedes, who has unexpectedly, in my opinion, taken over here in Season 1. But that's going to wrap it up for us here today in this F1 22 driver career mode. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, as usual, well, you know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe. Those would all be very appreciated. We take a look here before we wrap things up again at the actual point standings. Lewis Hamilton is only 37 behind Verstappen. Leclerc not even far behind either. Sainz, don't write him off. Perez you can maybe write off. If we're going to end up at a different team next season, it could very well be Red Bull, because Perez is starting to struggle after a few wins early in the season. We're still ahead of Schumacher, but it's still getting very, very close between us two. That is it for me. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day, everybody.